do this.
Start up for week number 12. Well, then we need to make sure that we write it down, paying attention, and listen. So number 1 says to factor the expression. We need to look at 27 and determine what two values that I can multiply together to get 27 and what same two values that I will combine together to get negative 12. Now, when we're looking at that, if we multiply negative 3 and negative 9 and add negative 3 and negative 9. So therefore my factors, x minus 3, x minus 9. So the factors of x squared minus 12x plus 27 is x minus 3 times x minus 9. Number 2, we're still factoring. Now the first step always of factoring is always to try to make sure or to see if there is a GCF that we can take out. But with 5, negative 32, and negative 64, there is not a GCF. There is not a number that will go into all three of those. So since we have a number other than 1 as a leading coefficient, we are going to do the step method. We are going to take the 5 and we're going to move it around and we're going to multiply it times our last term. Therefore, we are going to have x squared minus 32x minus 64 times 5 gives us 320. Now, this problem is now just like number 1. We try to find, or we find what two factors, when multiplied together, equals a negative 320. So, what two numbers multiplied together equals a negative 320. And the same two numbers, when combined together, equals a negative 32. So, now, here's a hint. Since this sign right here is negative, that means my factors, one is going to be positive and one is going to be negative. And the larger of my two numbers carries this sign right here. So that means that one number is going to be larger than 32. One number will be larger than 32. And if we think 40 times 8 gives us 320. 40 plus 8, one of those has to be negative, and it would have to be negative 40. So therefore my factors are negative 40 and positive 8. But we're not finished. Since we multiplied by or through by 5, we have to put it back underneath in clear fractions. If it does not reduce as 8 over 5, we simply move that number denominator to the front. So we have 5x plus 8. And if it does reduce, we reduce x minus 8. And that gives us the two factors of 5x squared minus 32x minus 64. Number 3 says solve by factoring. We're going to, very similar to number 2, we're going to do all the steps from number 2, except now we're going to take it a little further. Since we have equal to 0, we have to use the zero product property where we will then find the actual value of x. So go ahead and factor 5x squared plus 6x minus 8. There is not a GCF, so we will move around and multiply. So I have x squared plus 6x minus 40 is equal to 0. Trying to find factors, what two numbers will multiply to get negative 40, and what same two numbers will combine together to get a positive 6. Now, very similar to the last problem, how we have a negative. Both my signs will be, different. The larger number will be positive. Yes. So it would be 10 and 4. And since I need a positive 6, it's going to be a negative 4. Because 10 plus a negative 4 gives me a positive 6. So therefore my factors are x plus 10, x minus 4 is equal to 0. And from here we have to put the 5 back underneath. So now we return and clear. Get rid of some of this so we have some more room. So I've returned it, now clear it. 10 over 5 does reduce, so we have x plus 2. 4 over 5 does not, so I have 5x minus 4 is equal to 0. Now, here I have two factors set equal to 0. I now set both of those equal to 0 and solve individually. So when that goes across, x equals negative 2. The 4, so I have 5x equals 4, or x equals 4/5. So I have now solved that equation by factoring. Number 4.
X squared.
Number 4, x squared plus 16x plus 59 equals 0. Now, the directions here tell us to solve by completing the square. So, in order to complete by the square, I have x squared plus 16x. I am to move the 59 over and make a placement for it. When it goes across, it changes sign. Find a number that completes the square. And the way that we do that is we divide 16 by 2 and then square it. So 16 divided by 2 is 8. So it's going to be x plus 8 squared equals, well, whatever I do to this side, I have to do to this side. And that's why we have that blank. So I added essentially 8 squared, which is 64. So negative 59 plus 64 gives us 5.
You divide that 16 and put.
So from here, we have to solve. And the way we solve is take the square root of both sides. It'll cancel that. So I have x plus 8 equals the plus or minus square root of 5. And subtract 8 from both sides. Cancels. So I have x equals negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 5 as my solution. And that is by completing the square. Number 5, it says rewrite the equation in vertex form. Rewrite the equation in vertex form. Remember, in order to write in vertex form, our h, or what we call x of the vertex, is found by the equation of negative b over 2a. Here is a, here is b. So I have a negative 8 over 2 times 1. So that's 8 over 2, which equals 4. So that means my x value, or my h of my vertex, is equal to 4. So I have to take that 4 and plug it back in y to find y. So I have 4 squared minus 8 times 4 plus 10. That will give me my y component. 16 minus 32 plus 10. Solving by my exponents and multiplication there. So I combine. I have 16 minus 32. That gives me negative 16. Negative 16 plus 10 gives me negative 6. So my vertex, or my HK, is 4, negative 6. So I've got to write my equation in vertex form, which y equals x minus h squared plus k. So I'm taking these values and substituting it in. So y equals, well, this is, sorry, it's a in front of that. But a, when we're going back, is 1, so I leave it alone. So it's x minus 4 squared minus 6. That is vertex form of that equation. Number 6. Let's clean all this up. Well, let's just move down. Number 6 says use the quadratic formula to solve. Remember, quadratic formula. Negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. You need to have that formula. Can't stress that to you enough. Make sure you have that formula. So knowing that, here is my A, my B, and my C. So if it helps you, A equals 2, B equals -7, C equals 5. So I'm going to start plugging in negative B. B is already negative. Plus or minus the square root B squared minus 4 times A times C divided by 2A. Now we solve. I have 7 plus or minus the square root 49. 7 squared is 49. Then I have minus 4 times 2 times 5. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 5 is 40. All divided by 4. So that gives me, going this way, 7 plus or minus the square root of 9 over 4. And the square root of 9 is 3. Oh, me. So I have 7 plus or minus 3 over 4. So I have two answers. 7 plus 3. I ran out of room. Let me... Let me move everything up. So I have 7 plus 3 over 4. And I have 7 minus 3 over 4. And I have to work both of those out. So 7 plus 3 is 10. 10 over 4 equals 5 halves. We reduce. 7 minus 3 is 4. Over 4 equals 1. So I have the two solutions, 1 and 5 halves. Those are my two solutions for that quadratic.
How'd you get 3? I'm still on 7 plus a negative.
Take the square root of 9. And that is our startup for week 12.